سبحانه وتعالى يقول أفلا يتدبرون القرآن ولو كان من عند غير الله لوجدوا فيه اختلافا كثيرا.
طيب، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، صلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Last week we stopped at the introduction, and inshallah today we will continue. Alright. The author, he starts off, as we mentioned last week, with the definition of Usul Alfiqi. Ta'rif Usul Alfiqi, or the Hadd for Usul Alfiqi. What is the definition for Usul Alfiqi? Now, Usul Alfiqi is composed of two words, Usul and Fiqh. And that's why he says Usul Alfiqi يعرف باعتبارين. Alright? باعتبار مفرديه واعتبار يعني the first one is اعتبار مفرديه, looking at each word by itself, and then looking at the word when it's put together. So usul has a meaning by itself, and fiqh has a meaning by itself, and usul al-fiqh together has its own meaning. He starts off by mentioning the definition for usul. He says الأول باعتبار مفرديه باعتبار كلمة أصول وكلمة فقه. فالأصول جمع أصل وما يبنى عليه غيره، ومن ذلك أصل الجدار وهو أساسه، وأصل الشجرة الذي يتفرع منه أغصانها. قال الله تعالى ألم تر كيف ضرب الله مثلا كلمة طيبة كشجرة طيبة أصلها ثابت وفرعها في السماء. الآية. والفقه لغة الفهم، ومنه قوله تعالى واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. واصطلاحا معرفة الأحكام الشرعية العملية بأدلتها التفصيلية. Alright, what does usul mean? Alright, usul is plural of the word asl. Usul is the plural of the word asl, and asl means the foundation of something. Alright, you have a tree, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in this ayah, أصلها ثابت وفرعها في السماء. You have a tree, the foundation, root of the tree, this is called asl. The root of this building, alright, this is called asl. Alright, and the plural of the word asl is usul. The plural of the word asl is usul. Okay, and fiqh, yarhamakallah, fiqh in the Arabic language means to understand. Alright, yafqahu qawli, so that they can understand what I'm saying. Yani when Musa alayhi salam was making dua, what did he say? Yafqahu qawli. Alright, linguistically, fiqh means what? To understand something. And understanding usually is something that is complicated, not something that is easy. Like, for example, you cannot say فَقِهْتُ أَنَّ السَّمَاءَ فَوْقَنَا. You can't say that. I've understood that the heavens are on top of me. You can't say that in the Arabic language. Can you say that? Oh, very, mashallah, you discovered something that is great. Fiqh is something that you understand. Shawaya requires some type of, understanding. That's why ilm is of two types. Alright, ilm that requires understanding, or it's a bit more complicated. Alright, and ilm daruri and ilm muktasab. Ilm daruri is something that is understood by necessity. Okay, that heavens is, the sky is above us, the earth is below us. This is by necessity. You don't need to say I've understood that the sky is above us. You can't say that. Alright, ilm daruri and ilm alright, muktasab. This will come later on, inshallah. And then jahl is also of two types. Jahl murakkab, compound ignorance, and jahl basit, simple ignorance. Which one's worse? We know that ilm muktasab is greater than ilm bil darura, right? We agree to that, right? Which one's worse though? Jahl murakkab, compound ignorance, or jahl basit, simple ignorance? Which one's better? Or which one's worse? Murakkab is better, right? You sure? Come on. I'd rather be ignorant in a simple manner than, come on. Right? Jahl murakkab is worse. Because the jahil who's basit, somebody who's a jahil, and he doesn't know much, he knows his level. He's like, I'll be honest, I don't know nothing about this. I'm a jahil in this matter. Or I'm a jahil in general. But the person who thinks that he knows, when in reality doesn't know, this person is what? Alright? Like the sha'ir once said, قال حمار حكيم توما لو أنصفوني كنت أركب لأنني جاهل بسيط وصاحبي جاهل مركب. Alright? That one guy who thought he was a doctor when in reality he wasn't. He was giving out medications left and right to different patients. He never studied a day in his life. Alright? It got to the point that he prescribed one day for somebody to eat a black snake. It's a long story. Al-Muhim. So after that they called him, alright, Hakimi Tuma. That's his nickname in Arabic. And everybody who wants to use somebody who's ignorant, يعني جاهل مركب, in a compound way, they use him as an example. Alright? ومن رام العلوم بغير شيخ أضل عن الصراط المستقيم وتلتبس الأمور عليك حتى تصير أضل من توم الحكيم. Alright? أي نعم. أي وكم من عائب قولا صحيحا وافته من الفهم السقيم. Alright? Somebody who takes knowledge without learning from a sheikh, he takes from books, he'll be worse than that guy Tuma. Naam. You guys get the point. So al-fiqh is something that you understand that is a bit complicated. Amma in English, in the istilah matter, if you guys want to look at your book, all right, you guys see page number 8. You guys see the bottom of page number 8. Everybody looked at the bottom of page number 8. Knowledge of the rulings of the Sharia along with their specific evidences. All right. Everybody put parentheses around this. This is the definition for fiqh. All right, inshallah. This is the definition for fiqh. Knowledge of the rulings of the Sharia along with their specific evidences. معرفة الأحكام الشرعية العملية بأدلتها التفصيلية. الحقيقة, the translation of this is missing a key word. Who can tell me? Knowledge of the rulings of the Sharia along with their specific evidences. We mentioned this in fiqh when we took Safinatul Najah. Who remembers? What's that? Nope. Because evidences covers Quran and Sunnah and extra. Alright. Rulings of the Sharia is very general. Okay? What can come under it? Rulings in the Sharia that deal with the heart, right or wrong. For example, can you trust, يعني have tawakkul, not the type of trust يعني that we're talking about tawakkul type of trust, in any, except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in any human being, in any creature. You can only have tawakkul for who? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right or wrong? Okay. Is this a ruling of the Sharia? Yes, it is. But does it have to do with fiqh? No, it doesn't. It deals with theology, what we believe. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is high. This is something that we believe in. It's a ruling within the Sharia. Alright, so we should add the word al-amaliyah as the author mentions. The translator did not add that. Yeah, as we go along, inshallah, we're going to check the translation as well. I mean, we looked through it really quick. It was okay. It was pretty good. 5 Pillars Publishing, but they're missing a key word here, al-amaliyah. Al-amaliyah means physical actions. Alright? Knowledge of the rulings of the Sharia that deal with physical actions, along with their specific, or you could say detailed evidences. Alright? We could say detailed is a better word than specific. My brother, drink with the right hand. Huh? The Prophet ﷺ, what did he say about drinking with the left hand? لا تأكلوا بالشمال فإن الشيطان يأكل بالشمال. Hadith of Jabir in Sahih Muslim. Someone might say, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, do not eat with the left hand. But he didn't say don't drink. How do we respond? The Prophet ﷺ, he said here, do not eat. So does that mean drinking with the left hand is allowed? Alright, who knows? Remember, we have to stick to the Quran and Sunnah the way it is. Can't add or delete. Where do we get this concept of drinking? You have to drink with the right hand. Because in yes. That's a good answer, but the thing is, there's a difference between the Prophet ﷺ recommending something or loving something and when the Prophet ﷺ forbids it. Because when the Prophet ﷺ forbids something, it is much stronger than when he commands. Alright? Al-hadru muqaddamun ala al-mubih, they say. Something that is haram is stronger. Alright? And that is why when you have a maslahah and a mafsada, when they collide, what do you take by? The mafsada, right? You take by the mafsada. Dar'ul mafasid muqaddamun ala jalb al-masalih. This is a qaida, this is a maximum fiqh. Yani, leaving off anything that is not beneficial, something that is not beneficial, takes precedence over something that is beneficial. Alright? If you have the choice between, for example, you have the choice. You have two choices. One is you benefit. For example, I'll give you guys an example. Give me something that is haram. Somebody give me something that is haram. That's not allowed. All right. Lying, for example. Let's just say lying. All right. And something that is recommended. That's relatable to lying. Telling the truth, that's very easy. Alright? Let's say you take telling the truth as an example. You say the truth, saying the truth, alright, but you're gonna be harmed by it. Or you say a lie, okay, but you get a sin for it. Which one do you take by? Which one do you do? Do you say the truth and get harmed by it, or do you say the lie and get a sin for it? What do you do? But you're going to be harmed by the truth. What did Ammar bin Yasir do? Didn't he lie? Illa man ukriha, but it's still a lie, right? Ibrahim, didn't he lie? What did he say? This is my sister, and that was his wife. During the idol, what did he say? It depends how great the harm is? It depends on the situation. It does. Okay, now we're getting too complicated. We made it too complicated. You see, lying is a bad example, right? Because lying, sometimes it's not just lying takes the 5 rulings. Sometimes it's obligatory. Sometimes lying becomes obligatory. Why? When? Yeah, when you're saving a life of a person, for example, or, alright, somebody comes in here with a gun and he asks you, where's Ma'al Saeed? Where is he? Are you going to tell him he's at the office? No, you're going to tell him he's posted in Cedar. You're going to tell him a lie. You know, and then you have to lie in this case, for example. There are some times when it's, haram, and that's most of the cases. In most cases it's haram. But sometimes it becomes obligatory, sometimes when it's permissible, like what Ibrahim alayhi salam, alright, did. And sometimes something is not is not considered a lie. Alright? Rather it's what we call a white lie in a sense. Alright? You could have told them the truth, but in reality you go around it. And you tell them something else. That's not really considered a lie. Without looking at you guys get the point. The Prophet ﷺ here, he says, لا تأكلوا بالشمال. In the Arabic language, al-akl, sometimes drinking is referred to as al-akl. This is how we respond. Sometimes drinking is also referred to as al-akl. Alright? And sometimes it is said, sometimes it is specified. وَكُلُوا وَاشْرَبُوا حَتَّى يَتَبَيَّنَ لَكُمُ الْخَيْطُ الْأَبْيَضُ مِنَ الْخَيْطِ الْأَسْوَدِ مِنَ الْفَجْرِ. Alright? But sometimes the Prophet ﷺ, what did he say to the young man Ibn Abbas? Ya ghulam, sammillah وَكُلْ بِيَمِينِكَ كُلْ بِيَمِينِكَ Eat with your right hand. Alright, is it just eating or is it also drinking? Kul refers to eating and drinking. Alright, so al-akl sometimes comes, alright, it covers eating and drinking. Just like nighttime or day. Al-yawm, the word al-yawm sometimes can mean night as well. It means day and night, and vice versa. Al-layl can be referred to as the day. And there are words like that in the Arabic language that if you use one of them, it's good for the other. You understand? Alright, ثلاثة أيام, 3 days. يعني 3 days يعني during the day? No, 3 days with its nights. Okay? Yes, نعم. Yes, go ahead. Alright, al-muktasab. Al-daruri is the necessity. Alright, but you know via the 5 common senses. Alright, the 5 senses يعني. أما المكتسب, it is one that you actually learn. Like Usul Alfiqi, this is ilm muktasab, or we're learning. Alright, something you have to go and actually learn. Amma something that is clear cut, something that is common sense. Alright, you see it right in front of you. Alright, I've understood that a camera is in front of me. Alright, that's not called يعني, that is not called fiqh. Fiqh is when you actually understand something. Alright, وما كان المؤمنون لينفروا كاف فلولا نفر من كل فرقة منهم طائفة ليتفقهوا في الدين, so that they can understand the religion. So that they can understand the religion. And the Prophet ﷺ, he says, من يريد الله به خيرا يفقهه or يفقهه في الدين. Alright, in 2 narrations. Alright. Alright, whoever Allah is good for, He gives them understanding of the religion. Alright, understanding. It's not referring to fiqh, just fiqh. It's referring to understanding the religion. Alright, so this is the meaning of al-fiqh in the Arabic language, and this is the meaning of fiqh اصطلاحا. فالمراد بقولنا معرفة العلم والظن لأن إدراك الأحكام الفقهية قد يكون يقينيا وقد يكون ظنيا كما في كثير من مسائل الفقه. والمراد بقولنا الأحكام الشرعية الأحكام المتلقاة من الشرع كالوجوب والتحريم فخرج به الأحكام العقلية كمعرفة أن الكل أكبر من الجزء، والأحكام العادية كمعرفة نزول الطل في الليلة الشاتية إذا كان الجو صحوا. Alright, now he's breaking down the explanation of the definition of fiqh. You guys see the definition of fiqh on the bottom of page 8? You see this definition? Now he's breaking it down. The meaning of the word ma'rifah is knowledge. Alright? Al-ilm wal-dhann. Al-ahkam al-shar'iyyah, to the rulings of the sharia. Alright, rulings of the sharia, like what is obligatory, as will come later, what is obligatory, what is recommended, what is permissible, what is forbidden. What goes out of this? He says here, al-ahkam al-aqliyyah. Alright? Logical rulings. Some things are what? Are logical rulings. Alright? They have nothing to do with the sharia per se. Alright? We're talking about sharia rulings, things that deal with the religion. Or al-ahkam al-adiyya, or rulings of yani, normal, yani everyday. Like for example, things that have nothing to do with religion. For example, sitting in a chair, that have nothing to do with religion. That's something natural, something that is normal. Okay? We're talking about rulings of the sharia. طيب. Sitting in a chair in class is wajib, right? Or is it mustahab? Alright? Mustahab? طبعا يعني in day-to-day life, I don't think nobody looks at the 5 rulings: wajib, mustahab, mubah, makruh, and muharram. Nobody looks at that. But this ta'rif is very specific. Al-ahkam al-shar'iyyah, the shar'i rulings. Al-amaliyah, see here, al-amaliyah, anything that deals with theology or aqidah goes out. This is referring to what? Physical action, things that you do physically. Salah, som, zakah, hajj, transactions, marriage, divorce, right? Punishments, something that is done physically. نعم. بأدلتها التفصيلية, that has evidences that are detailed. Alright, that are detailed. يعني detailed meaning an ayah in the Quran, not just the Quran, an ayah, specific ayah in the Quran, or a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, or qiyas, or ijma', or a statement of a companion, so on and so forth. Alright. This is the definition when we look at usul separately and when we look at fiqh separately. What does usul al-fiqh mean? He says, الثاني باعتبار كونه لقبا لهذا الفن المعين فيعرف بأنه علم يبحث عن أدلة الفقه الإجمالية وكيفية الاستفادة منها وحال المستفيد. Alright. In the English translation, okay, in the English, they were, like we said last week, they were supposed to have both. Allah alam why they only printed the English. In the English translation, you guys look at page 10. You see where it says in the first paragraph, then it is defined as, you guys see that? Then it is defined as a knowledge where the evidences of fiqh are determined in general and how they are to be benefited from and the condition of the beneficiary. You guys see that? Alright, everybody put parentheses between. Alright, between that. They should have made it bold, but khair. Put parentheses. That is the definition for usul al-fiqh. Knowledge where the evidences of fiqh are determined in general and how they are to be benefited from and the condition of the beneficiary. Alright, we can break this definition into three. Let's break it down into three, inshallah. The first part, in Arabic, it's علم يبحث عن أدلة الفقه الإجمالية. Alright? A knowledge where the evidences of fiqh are determined in general. That's the first part of the ta'rif. Okay? Usul al-fiqh and fiqh are different. Okay, they're related, but they're different. Usul is the foundation. The science that we're studying is the foundation. And fiqh is the what? The branches. Alright. That's in terms of the ta'rif. What we're talking about in terms of right now, that's in terms of linguistically. But now we're talking istilahan. Na'am. Usul al-fiqh, alright, the first part of usul al-fiqh deals with evidences. What is regarded as an evidence? What is an evidence? How do I know something is an evidence in the Sharia? You and another person, you guys have a debate over an issue. Okay? A proper debate, how is it supposed to be? Every side brings their evidences. Right? Every side brings their evidences. One person brings an evidence and the other person brings an evidence. Okay? The other person, when he hears from the second person his evidence, you know what he says? I don't even regard that as an evidence. That can't be used as evidence in the Sharia. You guys with me? That can't be used as an evidence in the Sharia. But sometimes nowadays you have debates that are, or yani arguments of people, you see nobody has evidences, or only one side has an evidence. Alright? Whenever there's a debate, it has to be with what? With evidence. وَلَا تُجَادِلُوا أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ إِلَّا بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ وَجَادِلْهُمْ بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ. Scholars of tafsir, they say in this ayah, when you're debating with somebody, بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ is referring to what? Knowledge and evidences, and also adab, akhlaq. Alright, one of our mashayikh used to say, عندك دليل وعندي دليل ما في مشكلة. ما عندك دليل ما عندي دليل ما في مشكلة. عندك دليل ما عندي دليل نكون معك. عندي دليل ما عندك دليل تكون معي. Very easy and simple. You have an evidence, I have an evidence. Alright, يعني لا بأس. No problem. You don't have an evidence, I don't have an evidence, why are we debating? You have an evidence, I don't have an evidence, I'm going to be with you. I have an evidence, you don't have an evidence, you're going to be with what? With me. But what is an evidence aslan? What is an evidence in the Sharia? And you see some people, for example, they'll say this is haram. What is your dalil? You know what he says? There is no dalil. He says there is no dalil. Can that be a dalil by saying there is no dalil? We discussed this a little bit last week, right? Okay, another person, he says this is halal. What is your dalil? You know what he says? There's khilaf between the scholars. There's a difference of opinion between the scholars. And you know what's funny thing? One funny matter is that one time, sometimes you tell people, for example, this is an ijma', there's a consensus in this issue. The scholars have agreed that this matter is, for example, halal. You know what they say? ما علينا منه. Who cares? العبرة بالقرآن والسنة. Give me an ayah or hadith saying that it's halal. Or the opposite, haram, whatever it may be. Right? Forget this consensus stuff. Give me an ayah or a hadith. And then on the flip side, sometimes there may be some scholars who differed, but then there's a clear-cut ayah and a clear-cut hadith, right? Sometimes there's difference of opinions. Like some of the difference of opinions, if we actually consider them legitimate differences, we would have problems today. Do you guys know that, for example, mut'ah, temporary marriage, that the Shias practice all the time? Mut'ah, Ibn Abbas and many of his students, they actually believed that it was halal, it was allowed, right? But the scholars, they never consider this a legitimate, even though some scholars, they say Ibn Abbas went back on this at the end of his life. وَفِيهِ نَظَرٌ, because his students, you know, continued to carry this opinion. His students like Ikrimah and Sa'id ibn Jubair and others. All right. Temporary marriage, is it halal or is it haram? It's haram. And it's a clear-cut hadith. So Ibn Abbas, although how great, Ibn Abbas is a great companion, do we take his opinion? We don't take his opinion. Alright? That khilaf is illegitimate. You know what they're going to say? When you tell them, okay, it's all about the hadith and ayat, you know what they're going to say? There's a khilaf, there's a difference of opinion. That means I can take one of the two opinions. Like from one side, you're not going to allow a consensus because there's no ayah or hadith. And from another side, what is he going to say? He's not going to accept the ayah or hadith because there's a illegitimate difference of opinion. You guys see the inconsistencies? This is why it's very important to understand what is an evidence and what is not. Very, very important. Ijma' is an evidence. Consensus of the scholars, if it happens, it's an evidence. Like the Quran and Sunnah. It's not as strong as it, but it's still an evidence. And you cannot go against the ijma'. In fact, scholars, they say, if it's a clear-cut ijma' and the person knows, then that person disbelieves. If he goes against a clear-cut ijma', alright, and he has knowledge of it, disbelieves. That's how serious going against the ijma' is. If it's a clear-cut, because there's two types of ijma', as will come later, inshallah. Alright? Ijma'un qat'i wa ijma'un dhanni. طيب. A certain ijma' and a doubtful ijma'. So what is an evidence? What is what is considered a source in Islam? That's the first part. وكيفية الاستفادة منها. Alright, the second part. And how they are to be benefited from. These evidences, or these sources, like the Quran and the Sunnah and the Ijma' and the Qiyas, these four agreed upon, basically. The fourth one, there's a minor difference of opinion. But these four, generally speaking, they're agreed upon. And then there are other sources that the scholars, they disagree, like the statement of a companion, like al-Masalih al-Mursala, like Sadd al-Dhari'ah, like al-Istishab, like Shar' man qablana. All these terms, inshallah, we'll learn it later on, inshallah. How do we benefit from them? Alright? For example, I'll give you guys an example. لا تأكلوا بالشمال. لا تأكلوا بالشمال. Do not eat with your left. Okay. This hadith of the Prophet ﷺ is Sahih Muslim. Is the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet ﷺ clearly is forbidding us from drinking with our, or eating with our left hand. Okay. Is it haram or is it makruh? Is it haram to drink or eat with your left hand, or is it makruh? Huh? Doesn't matter. Is it haram or makruh? The Prophet ﷺ, people can be right-handed, and what are you gonna do when it comes to, you know, putting on your shoes or brushing your hair or, you know, making wudu? You're gonna say I'm left-handed as well? So we can't use that argument. Who says makruh? Raise your hand. Who says makruh? 1, 2, 3, 4. Who says 5? Who says it's haram?
Can you give us more detail?
There's no info. I'm not going to give you any info. I'm only give you this hadith. لا تأكلوا بالشمال. Do not eat with your left.
What circumstances
There are no circumstances. The Prophet ﷺ, he said it. No circumstance. But that's a good question. In this case, there's no certain nothing. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, do not eat or drink with your left hand. Huh? He said it. لا تأكلوا بشمال. Do not.
What if someone's an amputee?
Huh?
Like, what if someone's an amputee? No right.
What is he gonna do then? We don't go to what ifs until we get the default. All right? Because then you could say eating pork is halal too in that case, right? What if we get into what ifs? All right. How do we determine when the Prophet ﷺ commands something or he prohibits us from doing something? All right. Command, it could either be wajib, it could either be obligatory, or it could be mustahab, recommended. And a prohibition could either be haram or disliked, right or wrong. The Prophet ﷺ is saying, do not eat or left. How do we determine? Yes. How do you understand that? Like, when this is an example, but whenever a prohibition comes, do we automatically make it haram, or do we automatically make it makruh, or is it more than that?
You have to look at this. At first, you want to see what it is.
There's always exceptions. We know that. There's always exceptions to a rule. Let's put that on the side. Let's put the exceptions away. Those are the what ifs and the circumstances and the scenarios. Let's put that in the trunk. Right now, let's go to the driver's seat. Okay? How do we know when something is haram and when something is makruh? This is Usul Alfiqi basically. Inshallah, we'll study this inshallah to a certain extent. Obviously, this is a small book to a certain extent. But just to give you guys a little fa'idah, they say that when it comes to the adab, when it comes to manners, any hadith or ayah that comes when it comes to manners, whether it's an obligation or prohibition, then the asl is that matter which is forbidden is makruh, and the asl for that which is obligated is mustahab, is recommended. You guys with me? And that's why the scholars, majority of the scholars, they say that eating and drinking with your left hand is disliked, because eating and drinking is a matter that deals with adab, with manners, right? The way to eat and drink. So any hadith or ayah that comes with it, generally speaking, there are some exceptions. Unless clear cut, then it is what? It is makruh. Okay? It is makruh. Other scholars have said that it is haram, but they're a minority. And the first opinion looks to be correct. Wallahu a'lam, and Allah knows best. You guys get the point? How do we understand these ahadith? How do we understand this ayah? This is just a glimpse. Inshallah, we'll learn it later on, but just to give you guys an example. Alright. And the condition of the beneficiary. وَحَالِ الْمُسْتَفِيد. Okay, this is very, very important, especially in our times. Okay? Who is the one who has the right? Who is the one who has the right to give a fatwa, to give a verdict? Who is the one who is qualified to give out, to answer questions? Right? Is it everybody? No. Qualified people? Yes. Is it an academic degree? Abadan. Somebody can have a PhD degree and they're not allowed to give fatwa. Alright? Bachelor's, master's, no, we don't look at that in Islam. No academic degree. You can have all the degrees you want, all the awards that you want. That's not what it's looked at. Alright? You can have a title. In some places, you go through a schooling system 6-7 years and they give you the title Mufti. And wallahi, some of these people, they're not muftis, and they're not even close to being mufti. Because there's certain conditions for somebody to reach the level of a mufti. There's certain conditions for somebody to reach the level of mujtahid. This is the third part of Usul Alfiqi. It's studied at the end of every Usul Alfiqi book. Take any Usul Alfiqi book. At the end, you find a whole bab for someone who is qualified to derive these rulings from the Quran and Sunnah. Alright? Because new issues always come up. Right or wrong? Who is allowed to give fatwa on these issues? Who is the one who's benefiting, who are using these sources? The scholars, right? Not any type of scholar. That's another thing. Not any type of scholar. A scholar of the Arabic language, and a scholar of hadith, for example, and a scholar of just of aqeedah, for example, of tafsir? No. It has to be a scholar in fiqh and in usul. Now some scholars, they're polymaths. You know, they could be fiqh and hadith, or they know 2 or more sciences, or fiqh and aqidah, or fiqh, aqidah and hadith, or Arabic, fiqh and usul, multiple sciences. Alright? But just because somebody has a nice voice, alright, or leads prayers, that doesn't make them a mufti. There's something wrong. Or somebody has, has a beard, for example, no, or was wearing a thobe. No, that's not. None of that is looked at. All right. And this is a problem we face here in the Muslim community. We're just asking people left to right. Yani, we just look like he looks like a sheikh. We're gonna go ask him. All right. Or is a qari, mashallah, or gives a nice khutbah, mashallah. That's not how it works. Even some scholars, they're not allowed to give fatwa. Scholars within the religion. Some scholars in aqidah, for example, or scholars in for example in hadith, for example, all right, or scholars in whatever science it may be, in the Arabic language, for example, they're not allowed to give fatwa. There's certain conditions that must be met. You have to have the Quran memorized. You have to have a certain number of hadith memorized. You have to know the Arabic language to a certain extent with its 12 different sciences, 4 of them most important. You have to know Usul Alfiqi. You have to get to a point in Usul Alfiqi. There are 10 conditions for ijtihad. 10 conditions. 10 conditions that you must meet for you to reach the level of ijtihad. Taban ijtihad, there's different levels. Inshallah, we'll study that. You guys get the point? Usul Alfiqi. Basically, these are the 3 main issues that we study in Usul al-Fiqh. فالمراد بقولنا الإجمالية القواعد العامة مثل قولهم الأمر للوجوب والنهي للتحريم والصحة تقتضي النفوذ فخرج بها الأدلة التفصيلية فلا تذكر في أصول الفقه إلا على سبيل التمثيل القاعدة. Alright, he says here, the knowledge where the evidences of fiqh are determined in general. What does he mean by in general? He means by in general, okay, for example, he gives a principle here. Al-amru lil-wujub, that command is for obligation. Alright? Any command that comes in the Quran, then the asl, the origin of it is that it is an obligation. Okay? I'll give you an example. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in Surah Al-A'raf, يا بني آدم خذوا زينتكم عند كل مسجد وكلوا واشربوا ولا تسرفوا إنه لا يحب المسرفين. Alright? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here, He says, eat and drink and do not waste. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not like those who waste. Alright, eating. Here is a command, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, eat. Is eating obligatory? Is eating and drinking obligatory? Too many examples of eating and drinking, but let's just go with it. Some of you guys need it though. Is eating and drinking obligatory? There are certain cases, na'am. Guys, please, when it comes to fiqh, forget the scenarios, forget the circumstances, leave that back home, alright? Na'am, you're dying, your last moments before you die, and you can save yourself by giving your drink. No, we're not talking about those situations. We're talking about the origin, the default. Forget scenarios and circumstances for now, and exceptions. Is eating and drinking, is it obligatory? Yes. Who says yes? No. Alright. Who says no? What is it? If it's not obligatory, what is it? Mustahab, it's recommended. MashaAllah. So just keep on eating, Okay, eating is permissible. Guys, eating is permissible. Eating is mubah. It's neither recommended or wajib or or muharram or makruh. There are certain scenarios that it could change. But eating in its origin is what? Is permissible. Okay, didn't we just say that any obligation that comes, it is obligatory? Any command that comes is obligatory? This is usually the case. But there are some exceptions. Alright? From the exceptions, this is an example of an exception. How do we know that this is permissible? Alright? Sometimes the context that it comes in, as-siyaq. Alright? Sometimes its ruling is mentioned somewhere else in the Quran or in the Sunnah. Alright? Sometimes al-aql, by your aql طبعا like sometimes this happens, right? So on and so forth. You guys get the point. Al-Muhim, in Usul Al-Fiqh, what is studied is general evidence. We don't look at the specific evidences. This is fiqh. The ruling of eating and drinking, does this deal with usul or does this deal with fiqh? This deals with fiqh. But the fact that any command that comes is obligatory, this principle, this is general. This is studied in Usul al-Fiqh. Alright? The Quran as a source, this is studied, as will come inshallah. As a source, it's studied. Okay? How do we understand certain verses and so on and so forth? That's in fiqh. Specific verses, that's in fiqh. Amma Usul al-Fiqh, it studies the Quran in general, the Sunnah in general, so on and so forth. And you guys will understand this clearly once we get deeper into the book. So don't worry about that for now. والمراد بقولنا وكيفية الاستفادة منها معرفة كيف يستفيد الأحكام من أدلته بدراسة أحكام الألفاظ ودلالاتها من عموم وخصوص وإطلاق وتقييد وناسخ ومنسوخ وغير ذلك، فإنه بدراكه يستفيد من أدلة الفقه وأحكامها. من أدلة الفقه أحكامها. نعم. Alright, we already discussed this. والمراد بقولنا وحال المستفيد معرفة حال المستفيد والمجتهد. سمي مستفيدا لأنه يستفيد بنفسه الأحكام من أدلتها لبلوغه مرتبة الاجتهاد. فمعرفة المجتهد وشروط الاجتهاد وحكمه ونحو ذلك يبحث في أصول الفقه. Alright, we already discussed this as well. Who benefits? Alright, who benefits? Who's the beneficiary? Who benefits? Who's the mujtahid and who's the mufti? That's the third type. That's the third part of Usul al-Fiqh that is studied. What is the benefit of Usul al-Fiqh? Who remembers from last week? It's a foundation fiqh, that's the definition. But what do you benefit from learning the science? We studied this last week. Who remembers? We mentioned this in the introduction. Fa'idat Usul al-Fiqh. Alright, everybody go to page 11 real quick. Page 11. You see where it says the benefits of jurisprudence? Alright, I'll give you guys a couple minutes to read that. Everybody just read that. Last paragraph, benefits of jurisprudence. Okay, what is the benefit of Usul al-Fiqh? See where he says the number one fa'idah that you get in Usul al-Fiqh, after obviously the reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for seeking knowledge, is that you obtain a capacity to extract legal rulings from evidences on a sound footing. After you learn Usul al-Fiqh in a proper way, what do you get to know? You have the ability now to extract rulings, alright, from the Quran and Sunnah. طبعا you have to learn fiqh alongside with it, and you are qualified to learn to give fatwa, basically, alright, on modern day issues, or choosing opinions between the scholars. I'll give you guys an example, an issue that came out not too long ago, and that is the ruling of cryptocurrency, of investing into cryptocurrency or Bitcoin and stuff like this. Alright, is it permissible? Is it impermissible? So on and so forth. Who's allowed to give a fatwa on this stuff? You see some people, they're just talking as if they're mufti. It's not allowed. Only the scholars or the muftis or those who have reached the level of ijtihad are allowed to speak in these matters. Alright? Anybody who wants to speak on this issue, what does he have to know? He has to be very good in Usul al-Fiqh, because Usul al-Fiqh teaches you how to extract modern day issues that come up, alright, and connect them to Quran and Sunnah. How to extract these rulings. That's what it teaches you. Alright? It teaches you how the deen works. Bottom line. How the entire religion works, how it's connected. This is what Usul al-Fiqh is. Alright? And that's why you could tell, somebody could tell easily between somebody who studied Usul al-Fiqh and somebody who didn't. Alright? By the word choices. Alright? And the way the questions are answered. And so on and so forth. You can tell very, very easily. In fact, I know one of the mashayikh used to say, I can tell by the way they walk. It's by the way they walk. He sniffer from the air. He doesn't literally mean it, but you can just tell. There's a certain demeanor to it. There's a malaka fiqhiyya. Malaka fiqhiyya meaning you have it within you. Alright? Wallahu a'lam. And Allah knows best. Alright, we already mentioned last week that the first person to write about the science was Imamuna Muhammad ibn Idris al-Shafi'i, rahmatullahi alayh. in his book Al-Risala that is printed in one volume, and recently, not too long ago, printed in 3 volumes. Although I wouldn't advise to get that print, the 3-volume one. It came out actually in Ramadan, and I was in the library or in the bookstore, and he was trying to get me to buy this book. I already have the book, the edition of Ahmed Shakir, but he was trying to get me to buy the new edition that came out this Ramadan that everybody was buying. So before you buy a book, you got to take a look at it. You can't just buy it. I took a look at it. In the first volume, not one word of a Shafi'i rahimahullah. The whole first volume is introductions. The book starts in the second volume, and then the third volume. The problem is the editor, Jazallahu khair wa wafaqahullah, he added a lot of his own speech, and he's given introduction to the science and this and that, and he's adding a lot of stuff that is not needed, because somebody who's reading the book Al-Risala, alright, is not a beginner student of knowledge. Imam Shafi'i's work is not studied by a beginner. This is an advanced, super advanced student of knowledge. Alright, some of the stuff you're mentioning in there, that student already knows, like stuff in this book, Al-Usul min Ilm Al-Usul, stuff from the book Al-Waraqat, information that he already knows, he doesn't need at the moment. I'll give you guys an example. Somebody who's studying Calc 4 or Calc 3, does he need to know about, derivatives and all that? He should know derivatives. You don't need to explain to him what derivatives are. He already knows. Or for example, the Pythagorean theorem, for example. You guys get the point. That's like studying Calc 4 or Calc 3, whichever one you choose, that's higher. That's like studying Calc 3 or Calc 4 in Usul Alfiqi. He doesn't need basic stuff. Alright? On top of that, you know what happens when you make the book bigger than it really is? What happens? The bigger the book, the more the what? The more the Benjamins. Alright? You can get a 1-volume book for 30, 40 riyals. Alright? $10, $8, $12. But you know how much this 3-volume book was being sold for? 95. I mean, that's roughly that's about $20, $22, $23. Right? You're making the book bigger than it already is. And then I was like, I looked through the second. Sometimes you see one word on the top and the rest footnotes for 3 pages. Footnotes. Sometimes you see 2 words. Footnotes. Every little word, little mushkila. Problems, right? So al-muhim, from just looking at it from طبعا the new 3-volume book of Al-Risala that Shafi'i rahimahullah wrote, I think it's overhyped, because a lot of people that were saying it's a good, there's a lot of good stuff. He put a lot of work into it. And in terms of the content, it's not a mistake. This is a technical issue, right? The scholars, they talk about it. If you want to explain the book, alright, give it your own explanation. Call it the commentary of Risala. But if you're going to give us the book, what happens is, they say the book is written by Shafi'i, tahqiq wa ta'liq. The editor adds it. A contemporary editor comes and adds his own thing. But in reality, he's explaining the book. Because if he explains the book, what's going to happen? If he explains the book may not become as popular. You guys get the point? Because nobody wants to buy your book. But a Shafi'i, rahimahullah, you put a Shafi'i's book and then you add your little 2 cents, what's going to happen? Everybody's going to buy it. Right or wrong? Al-muhim, you guys need to know this, inshallah. Whenever you guys get to the next level of seeking knowledge, don't buy just every print of every book. You got to make sure of every print of every book, you have to buy the best print. Alright? Inshallah, sallallahu alaihi wa sallam,